Good evening, friends. Chag Sameach. It is the start of Shmini Atzeret, which marks the end of the holiday of Sukkot. We are also celebrating the release of 20 living Israeli hostages returned to their families in Israel. Deep, massive gratitude. Just a profound miracle that they are home. The Israeli people and Jews around the world are exhaling in a way. So many are saying we finally feel like October 7th, 2023 has finally come to a close. We pray for peace. We pray for lasting peace. We pray for new leadership in Gaza. We pray for a situation where a lasting peace can endure. Praying for Spirit to just shine down upon us and guide all the players that have a role to bring about the most positive outcome possible for the land and the people. Continuing to read passages from Avodat Hashem, Inner Work, the Teachings of Rav Ashlag, page 89. According to the Baal HaSulam and the Rebbe Zatzal, and as we see in reality, it is not possible in our generation to attain attachment to God by studying only the revealed Torah. The material temptations have increased, and the light that shines from the revealed Torah is not outweighing the overpowering materialism. Therefore, our generation definitely needs to be involved in learning Kabbalah. So according to Rav Ashlag and to his son, Rav Baruch Ashlag, and as we see in reality, it is not possible in our generation to attain dveikut, attachment to God, union with the divine, by studying only the revealed Torah, which means, as we've said before, the 5 books of Moses, the prophets, the writings, the Mishnah, the Talmud, the Gemara, all the Halakha. It's not enough to study the revealed Torah because the material temptations have increased, the physical temptations and material temptations have increased, and the light that shines from revealed Torah is not outweighing the overpowering materialism, the overpowering physical and material temptations. Therefore, in our generation, we definitely need to be involved in learning the Torah, the hidden Torah, which is the Kabbalah, the secrets and the mystical teachings of Judaism, which are found in the Kabbalah. When we realize that we are absolutely nothing, with no power and no ability to exist on our own, we are then able to receive God's help. We are then able to receive the inner spiritual wisdom of the Torah. When we realize that we are absolutely nothing, with no power, no ability to exist on our own. And realizing we are absolutely nothing, meaning our not only our egos, which we live by and think are so important, our identities, which we worship and worship the identities of others, but also our physical existence. We're merely flesh and blood and bones. We are merely matter that comes from the dust of the earth, as it says in Genesis, that God made man from the dust of the earth. And we have no power and no ability to exist on our own. If God were to remove the breath of life from us, it says that God created humans from the dust of the earth and blew the breath, Nishmat Chaim, blew the soul of life, the breath of life into man, into human beings. If God were to remove that, then we would all drop. Everything would just collapse. God is the essence and the energy that moves through, that keeps the planet and all of the creatures on it functioning. We have no power. We have no power, many different expressions of that, but really we have very little will, if any at all. Will is something that can be grown, as Gurdjieff would say. You can grow will, you have the potential for will. But as we stand, we don't have it on our own. So we have the potential for will, but only through seeing our circumstance, that we have no power, that we really, truly, deeply have no agency, that really life happens to us only through true observation and recognition and acknowledgement of that can we start to develop a true will. When we recognize these facts, these truths about our circumstance, then we are able to receive the inner spiritual wisdom of the Torah. We're able to receive the deeper teachings that are in the Kabbalah that teach us how to heal and awaken. If we see ourselves as faulty, we are consequently projecting fault on our Creator. Therefore, it cannot be that we are lowly and defective. Seeing ourselves that way is seeing an external illusion that is not true. So this is so beautiful, right? It seems almost opposite, at least energetically, of the last passage. But this is a perfect example of right line and left line. The previous passage was left line, recognizing our brokenness, recognizing that we are absolutely nothing and we have no power and no ability to exist on our own. And this passage is saying if we see ourselves as faulty, we're consequently projecting fault onto the Creator, because if we're faulty, the Creator created us, and the Creator created a faulty creature, a faulty being. Therefore, it cannot be that we are lowly and defective. If we see ourselves in this way, we're actually seeing an external illusion that is not true. And so this is tapping into the right line paradigm of reality, in which we are not faulty, that we are actually pure, we're actually perfected, perfect beings, as God has created us. The Creator creates nothing with fault, so thus He created us without fault. And in that reality, as we've said before, Matzav Aleph, Matzav Gimel, the A and the C reality, there is perfection. There's nothing to be fixed. It's just an illusion, the reality of the B reality, the reality of Galut, the paradigm we're living in currently. So it's important to be able to touch into both of these lines, the right line and the left line, in order to have a more whole and balanced perspective. Again, that's why I have this channel, as to heal and awaken, recognizing the need for healing our traumas, our wounds, the things that are broken inside of us and our culture, and awakening to the truth of our perfection, the reality of the right line in which all is already perfect, already one, as so many of the non-dual teachings express. The Aggadot, stories written by the sages, are all secrets of the Torah. As the Rambam says, the Aggadot are metaphorical. Within the Aggadot are hidden the deepest secrets of creation and the spiritual work that is the key to life. So Aggadot, those are stories, they're written by the sages. A lot of them are in the Talmud, in the Gemara, and the Rav is saying that these are all secrets of the Torah, that really, as the Rambam, who is another sage, another teacher, says that the Aggadot, these stories are actually just metaphorical. It's kind of like we were saying about the Garden of Eden. It's metaphor. There wasn't really a snake. There wasn't really a tree. And similarly, these Aggadot, these stories in the Talmud, written by the sages, are metaphorical. And within these stories are hidden the deepest secrets of creation and the spiritual work that is the key to life. So, a very beautiful expression about these Aggadot, these stories from the sages. The Rebbe Zatzal said that foundational to understanding the Torah and the words of the sages is understanding that everything described in the Torah concerning God is actually speaking from our perspective. So the Rebbe, Zecher Tzadik Livracha, said that foundational to understanding the Torah, what's crucial, what's core to understanding the Torah and the words of the sages, is understanding that everything described in the Torah concerning God is actually speaking from our perspective, from our experience of life, from our experience of the divine, not from God's experience of creation and reality. It is from our experience of God and events and others and life as it's unfolding. God's desire to give goodness is obviously not about the minuscule physical pleasures of the world, but rather the most enormous pleasure in all of existence, the experience of God. So as we said before, the purpose of creation, according to this Kabbalah, is to give all of humanity the greatest pleasure in all of existence. And the Rav is clarifying that the greatest pleasure in all of existence, as we've said, is the experience of God, of God's unity and oneness, of us experiencing being an extension of that, touching that infinite part of us, that infinite expression of our own being that we are here to live from, to speak from, and to love from. So the Rav is clarifying here God's desire to give goodness, the goodness of creation, of the purpose of creation, is obviously not talking about the minuscule pleasures of this world. Obviously not. But rather the most enormous pleasure in all existence, which is, as we've said, the experience of God, God's divinity, God's unity and oneness. May we all merit, with the help of the Creator, to open our hearts, open our eyes to the truth of God's unity, to the truth of our place within that unity, our role here, our purpose here, the fact that we are not separate from God or each other. May we open to that. May we live from that. May we be that. May we think, speak, and act from that truth and bring about the redemption of ourselves and all of humanity and the planet. Okay, Chag Sameach. Have a wonderful night. We'll see you tomorrow.